Hi all, in this video we're going to be looking at the technical graphics ordinary level 2017 question 2. This is the Ellipse question, a standard question every year, and this year we can see that the drawing is in the shape of the Angry Birds character. So let's get started. So in this question we're going to start off, as always in these questions, by drawing the ellipse, and in this question we're told the ellipse is A, B, C, D. Now if we look closely to the question, we can see AC is the major axis of the ellipse and is 160 millimeters long. We can see that in the question. If we look over to the right hand side of the bottom, we can see we're given half the major axis of OC, which is 80. Okay. If we look again at the question, we can see that OD is half the minor axis and is 60 millimeters long. And again, if we look down to the bottom right hand side, we will see the measurement 60 millimeters going from O to D. So again, if half the minor axis is 60, we know that the full minor will be 120. So with that information, we can start into our drawing. So the first thing we're going to do is set up the ellipse. And we're going to set this up in the middle of the page. Okay, so I'm going to draw a cross in the middle of the page, and we're going to get the ellipse drawn in. So we can see the first one is the major axis, and that is 80 millimeters. So I'm going to mark off 80, and again I'm going to do that both sides. Okay, so that's the first job. So that's my major, and again, just for clarity, let's do that in blue. Okay, so that is my major, and we'll just write that over here. Major axis. So next thing we're going to do is put in the minor axis, and again from the question we were told it was down 60. Okay, and we're going to go up 60, which will be 120. And again we're going to put a bit of color on that, just for again a bit of clarity. Okay, and again I'm going to mark that down here, the minor axis. Okay, so just so we're not confused. So once we've our axis set up, the next thing for us to do is to draw in the ellipse. Now for this, what we normally use is the trammel method. This is the standard method we use all the time. I find it's the easiest one and the way we can probably make less mistakes. So with this method, what we're going to do is we're going to select a piece of paper, and this is going to be our trammel. What we're going to do is we're going to put our trammel down on the major axis. So we always try and start off with the major axis. And first job to do is to mark off the end of the major axis. So we put a mark here, right where we see the end, and we mark that as P. And what that is, point P is a point on the ellipse. Okay, so that is what point P is. Now what we do is then we come along the major axis, and we find another line that's intersecting it, and we can see here the minor axis. So I'm going to draw a line here, marking off where the minor axis is, and we're going to just write down minor axis, right where that is. There's no point calling the letter or a number or anything else. Don't make it confusing for yourself. Write down what it is. When we've that done, we're going to lift up our trammel, and this time we're going to do the opposite. We're going to put it against the minor axis, and we're going to put point P at the top of the minor. When you've that done, we're going to do the exact same thing as we did a minute ago. Is we're going to find out, look along the trammel and find the line that intersects it. We can see it just here, which is the major axis. So I'm going to mark that off in blue. Again, see it coming straight across. And again, instead of calling it something I won't remember, I'm going to write down major axis. Okay, so call them what they are. That'll be my advice. Once you've that done, we've got our trammel that we need to complete this ellipse, and we're going to draw this around. We can see from the question that it's a full ellipse all the way around. So to draw the ellipse then, again, we have 4 quarters. Okay, if I want to draw on this top one, I'm going to have the trammel diagonally across the one opposite the major axis. So this is the number 1. I'm going to cross the major axis, and this is the one I'm putting it at an angle at. All I have to do then is keep major on major. So the major axis point along the major axis, and the minor axis point along the minor axis. When I do that, I can come along the top, and point P is the point on the ellipse. So I just put a little mark at that. And I'm keep rotating my trammel around, major on major, minor on minor, point P is a point on the curve. Okay, so you just keep following it all the way around, major on major, minor on minor, point P is a point on the curve. And once we do that, we can fill up this quarter with a lot of different points on the ellipse. To start off with, we'd be looking for about 6 or 7 different points per quarter to get a nice neat ellipse. If you find your ellipses aren't that neat, add some more. Okay, if you find you're getting the hang of it, or those of you who are maybe very good at art, you might be able to get away with a few less. So I've got my points here on this first quarter, and all I have to do then is, starting at the major, I'm going to draw all these points together as neatly as I can. Okay, well, you can see we just kind of want one line, so I'm not doing a striking action on it, all the way up to the minor axis. When I've that done, I'm going to do this corner. So again, this is the quadrant I'm drawing in, so I go across the major axis, and that is the one I'm going to put this trammel diagonally across. So again, major on major, minor on minor, point P is a point in the curve. And I'm just going to keep working my way all the way around this quarter also. So we're going to work through this and let you just follow it along. Okay, so now we're back to our last quarter. Just remember, I want to draw in this quarter. You will have noticed it from the video in this last quarter. If I'm drawing this quarter, I'm going opposite the major axis. So this is the side I'm going to an angle to. So all I'm going to do is, again, major on major, minor on minus, and you can see it's going to cross the angle of this one, which is the one opposite the major axis. And all we're trying to do is keep major on major, minor on minor, point P will be a point in the curve. And as we said, give or take around 6 or 7 points should be more than enough, and it's more points than we would get if we were doing the concentric circles method or any other method. Okay, again, you can see here I've got some nice and close, but up here they may be a bit too far apart for my liking. That's no problem. We can always go back, line up our trammel over major on major, minor on minor, and we can pop in another point. So just like here, if I wanted another one in between here, I can line up my major on my major, my minor on my minor, and point P will be a point on the curve. So it just allows you to go back and add in points. Well, once we've that done, I'm going to draw in this corner of my ellipse then. Okay, and we want to try in a nice continuous line if we can. So now that I've got my ellipse all drawn in lightly, again, I'm not going to draw it in heavy just yet because we're not sure what it is we want and might need. Now again, just for clarity and to show the examiner that we use the trammel method, we are going to stick our trammel down on our page as well. It's not needed to stick it down, folks, and hand it up, but it is a good habit, and it's just to stop any confusion over how it was we completed the question. So that's our trammel stuck down, our ellipse drawn, and that is the first part of the question all done. Our next job then in this question would be to look at the face of the character, so we can see it's all based around the eyes here we can see in the question. So we're going to start with the eyes. Again, if we look closely to the question, we can see there's a radius 20 for the eyes. So that's where I'm going to start. So if I know that the eyes are radius 20, we also know that they're touching each other at the center of this. Okay, and we can see they're on the major axis from A to C. Okay, so we might just label those points for us just so that we know the different points we're talking about. So there's AC, and then we've got the minor axis BD, and we've got O here in the center, and it's O we're working from. So we can see that it's 20, the centers are going to be 20 away from the center. of my O here, because they're going to be touching each other. So I mark off 20 either side, and I'm going to take my compass and draw in the circle. So I'm going to put my point of my compass on the center. I'm just going to mark that for you just so it's nice and clear. Okay. And we may need those points later on. So these are my two centers. Okay, and that's where my center of my compass is going to go. So point my compass here, open it up into the center, the 20 mil away, and we're going to draw in that circle. I'm not going to draw it heavy all the way around because some of it is not going to be needed. Okay, I'm going to do the exact same on the opposite side. And again, drawing that lightly all the way around. So once you've your eyes done, you can see we've got these angry eyebrows at the top, and we're going to look at those next. If we look closely, we can see there's two measurements to the side. We've got the bottom of the eyebrow, that's up 30, and then we've got the top, which is up 10. And they're linking right to the outside of the eyes we've drawn. So, to find out our question, we can see from the question we had to go up from the outside of the eyes. That's where the measurements are coming from. And we were told that the bottom of it was up 30, and the top up another 10, which is up to 40. Okay, I'm going to just draw those lines across because I'm going to need them both sides. Okay, with the eyebrows, if we look closely to the drawing, we can see there's a line from the opposite eye, okay, from the opposite eye that joins up at an angle to the top of the 30 millimeter mark, and that's giving us the bottom line of the eyebrow. So we can go ahead and try and draw that in. We know it's not going to be a heavy line all the way. So we can go ahead and draw in that line. So it's from the bottom of the 30 to the opposite eye. Okay. So I'm going to just draw that lightly. Okay. And again, where that intersects my center line is a very important point. That is where we're going to be drawing the line from the top of the eyebrow. Okay. On both sides. So from the top, which is the 10 mil up, I'm going to be drawing a heavy line right where this angle line intersects my minor axis. Okay, so I'm going to draw that, and that's a heavy line. And once you've that heavy line drawn, we can draw the heavy line at the bottom. And you can see it's intersected this part of the eye of the circle that I drew, and that's why I didn't draw that in heavy earlier on. So that is the eyebrow on the right. I'm just going to draw up this 10 millimeter here. And the eyebrow on the left is the exact same. So just to go through how we drew this eyebrow again, the opposite side, we can see that the center, okay, of this eye is connected up to the bottom of the eyebrow, which was the 30 millimeter mark up. So I draw that lightly across. Where that intersects my minor axis, we can see right here. That's giving me the point that I join to the top of the eyebrow. So I can draw that in a heavy line, okay? And again, both eyebrows intersect. And from that point again is where I'm going to join up to the bottom of the eyebrow. So I'm just continuing that on. But we don't have heavy lines here in the middle of the eye. We don't need them. And just to tidy up that then at the top, I'm going to mark off the 10 both sides. Once you've that done, we can actually go ahead now and draw on the rest of the eye in heavy. Because we can see we didn't need this little bit up here. But I'm going to go back now and put my compass down. And from where the circle starts at the eyebrow, I can draw that in heavy all the way around. Okay, so again, nice, neat compass action all the way around. And again, we're stopping just where the circle intersects the eye. So that's one done, and the opposite one. It's better habit, folks, to draw it lightly first than trying to rub stuff out, because the examiners are going to notice that you rubbed it out, and you're going to be losing marks then for neatness and for accuracy, okay? We have light lines for construction, the exact same as we do with our circles. So once you've that done, you've got the eyebrows complete, and the next job for us to do is the mouth and the bottom part of this bird. So to do the mouth then of this bird, there's a little bit of work in this. Now, we just have to look very, very closely at the question, and we can see how the mouth is drawn. So if we take from point A, we can see there's a light line coming from A, and it intersects the eye on the left closest to A at the very bottom of the eye. and that is extended down to the center line, the minor axis. And if we look closely to the right hand side, there's also a light line going from C, and again that intersects the bottom of the eye as well on the right, the one close to C, and that also extends down to the center, which is the minor axis. So just to show you that in the question, we extended these lines down here. That was the to give us our center lines. Now where those center lines intersect the bottom of the circle, we've got this point down here, and it's this point that we're drawing back to the end of our major axis, which is point A. So I'm going to draw this lightly. Okay, so we extend it down, and it's this part that's giving me the top of the mouth here. Okay, we do the exact same on the right hand side. We go from the end of the major axis, point C, and it's extended down to the bottom of where the center line of the eye intersects that circle. Okay, so that's what we're joining up, and again we draw that down. They're going to intersect right here in the center. Once you've got that, that allows you to draw in a heavy line. So I only draw back to the bottom of the eye there, and I'm doing the exact same thing on this side. So that gives you the top of the mouth at the bottom here. If we look closely to our question, then we can see there's a measurement here that down 15 millimeters. And that gives us the point at the bottom of the mouth. So in our question, we know the center is going to be down 15, so I'm going to have to measure down 15, and that's going to be joined back up here to the outsides. So a nice easy part here. Okay, so we come down 15. Is it from here? No. If we look closely to our question, this is a common mistake people made. We look closely to the question, it's down from the bottom of the eye. Okay, so it's actually from this point where we intersect them. And that is something that a lot of people made a mistake on. It's something we wanted to highlight to you. So I'm coming down from the bottom of the eye, okay, 15, so where our line intersected, and that down 15 is giving me this part here. So some people, the space of the mouth there was quite big, and again that's kind of where the problems were for it. So we're going to just highlight that to you, and that allows me to draw this back in. So I'm going again from the bottom of the eye to where this 15 millimeter line intersected my minor axis, the center here. Okay, and once you've that done, you've got the mouth fully complete. Then our next job is to draw in, let's say, the belly maybe of this bird, which we can see here in the question is a radius 60. Okay, a radius 60. Now, where this radius 60 is from, we can see it's not from point D, it's outside point D. And we've got this outside circle, which we call our major circle. So it's going to be from point O, and we have a major circle. It's the whole width of the outside of, or of half the major axis. So I put the point of my compass at O, open it up to A, and again I'm going to swing a circle, light circle, all the way around. This is our major circle because it's incorporating our major axis. Now once you've that, you can find this point down here. I'm going to just mark it here for you, which is the center for where we're going to draw our arc 60. Now just be careful, because when we draw this arc 60, it does get very close to the bottom of this eye, but it's not touching that. We can see in the question it does tell us radius 60. So I'm going to mark off 60 using my set square, open up my compass to radius 60, and I'm going to put that on the center we found, point down, and I'm drawing a heavy arc all the way from the outside of the ellipse up to the mouth. Okay, so only to the mouth, not in between the mouths, it's just the ends here. Okay, so we can see it's just this part that's a slightly different color. So it does extend out there, but I'm leaving this light. It's only a heavy arc to the outside. Okay, so we get that drawn in nice, neatly, and in heavy there. Okay, once you've that done, then folks, you've got the bottom of the bird done. We've got the eyes fully complete, and our last job then is to deal with the tuft of hair at the top of this bird. So when we look at the question here and we look at the tuft of hair at the top of this, we can see that there's some different measurements. And the first thing we're going to start with is the 35 millimeters. So that is from the very top, that's from point B. So from point B, we're going to measure up 35 millimeters. Okay, and I'm drawing a light line across here. So the first measurement. This is probably the most complicated part of the question, just part that people do make the mistakes on. So we want to spend a bit of time on it. If we go back and look at the question now, we can see that there's an other angle, an outside angle, and it's the first one we need to draw. It's the angle of 60 degrees. And if we follow that back, we can see it comes from point B. So in our question here, from 60 or from B, we're going to draw an angle at 60. Okay, so it has to come all the way out. Are we at 60 here? No, this is 30. So just be careful with that. These are the common mistakes people are using. So it's 60 degrees. So I'm coming out here at 60 degrees. Okay, so I have an angle straight out there. And we're going to draw the base of this out here as well. Okay, so we can see there's a straight edge out there that we're going to need as well. Now, once you've that done, if we go back and look at the question again, we can see that there's another angle line, an angle of 45 degrees, okay? And that's from where our 60 degree angle hit our 35 millimeter line. So where our 60 degree angle hit our 35 up here, we're going to come down at 45 degrees from that top point, okay? And that's given me the first part of this spike, of this tuft of hair, if you will. Next job we can see from our question is we've a radius R, which is from B, and it goes up to the top again where the 60 degree and 45 degree line intersected the 35 millimeter line. So in our question here, this is this key point up here, and the radius again is from B. It just said radius R, so what we do is we put the point of the compass down where the center was. It was at B. We're opening it up to this point up here where the 60 degree intersected our 35 millimeter line, and we're going to mark that all the way down. Okay, so it's an arc coming down this way. When you do that, you're going to have a point here where the arc hits our straight line across. Okay, so that is giving you the end of this tuft of hair. Okay, so we have to draw a line from this in here somewhere. Again, if we look really closely to the question, from this point here that we've just found on the left hand side where the radius comes down to the bottom, the 60 degree, the horizontal line, we follow that across and we find a point right in the center, just above point B, of where the 45 degree line hits the minor axis line that we've extended on. So in our question, from this point here, we can see that we've where the 45 degree line intersects the center line gives us another point. And it's that point that we need to draw back together. So we join those. And when we do that, we've revealed the outline of the tuft of hair. And I'm just going to go ahead and draw that in heavy. So there's a 45 degree line where it hits the ellipse all the way up to the 35 millimeter line. I have my 60 degree line. Okay, use our set square to actually draw this so it'll be a bit neater. And that's stopping now at where my next line hit the 45 degree line to my radius. So I'm going to just draw that freely. And last but not least, I have my horizontal line which is coming back in here to point B. So that there is the tuft of hair for this question. Once we've that done, one of our last jobs then we can go back and do is draw in the ellipse in heavy, because again we didn't need this part. We weren't sure what other bits we needed. So I'm going to go ahead and draw that in really quickly. Okay, and again, when we've drawn it, you can see I've left this part of the ellipse empty because again, we don't, that's not needed, okay? So that is the question pretty much fully complete. The one last job we have to do is just look closely to the question. On the bottom left hand side we see a note and it says choose your own dimension for the pupils of the eye. So we're not given any measurement for that, and there will be marks allocated for the pupils. So we're going to just pick any measurement as small as you dare to go with your compass. Okay, remember we can't draw it in freehand. So if your compass work isn't the best, or your compass isn't the best, then just try and draw them as small as you can. Okay, once you've that done, that is the question fully complete. So that is the Technical Graphics Ordinary Level 2017 question 2, our ellipse question of our Angry Birds character. Hopefully this question, folks, helps you with your homework and revision of this question. Good luck.